You wake up, check your phone, rush through the same morning routine, eat the same breakfast, think the same thoughts, react to the same triggers, feel the same emotions, go to bed promising tomorrow will be different, and then you wake up again. Same patterns, same responses, same life wearing different clothes. Everyone talks about breaking cycles and creating change, but here's what no one tells you. You're not stuck in your life. You're stuck in your observation of it. And that observation? It's creating the very reality you keep trying to escape. You are living inside what quantum physics calls the observer loop. And until you understand how your consciousness is literally generating the patterns you experience, you'll remain trapped in an endless repetition of the same energetic signature, the same vibrational frequency, the same quantum field collapse, over and over and over again. But here's the thing that changes everything. The moment you understand how observation creates reality, you don't just break the loop. You become the conscious architect of an entirely new quantum configuration of experience. Let me explain. Right now, as you're listening to this, you think you're observing your life. But what's actually happening is far more profound and far more revolutionary than anything you've been told about personal development or manifestation or changing your reality. Your consciousness isn't just witnessing your experience. Your consciousness is actively, continuously, quantum mechanically selecting which version of reality comes into existence moment by moment by moment. And the reason you keep experiencing the same life is because you keep making the same observations, which keep collapsing the quantum field into the same patterns, which keep generating the same experiences, which keep reinforcing the same observations. This is the observer loop, and you've been caught in it your entire life without realizing it. Think about this morning. Before you even opened your eyes, what was your first thought? Was it, what amazing possibility is available to me today? Or was it the same familiar mental pattern you've been running for years? Another day, same stuff. Here we go again. That first observation, that very first moment of consciousness engaging with possibility, immediately collapsed infinite potential into the familiar pattern of same day, same life. And from that moment forward, every subsequent observation confirmed and reinforced that initial collapse. You observed your reflection and saw the same face with the same perceived limitations. You observed your environment and saw the same space with the same energy. You observed your relationships and saw the same dynamics with the same people playing the same roles. Each observation wasn't neutral. Each observation was an active choice about which reality you were calling into existence. But here's what quantum physics reveals that completely transforms everything. Observation isn't passive. Observation is creative. Observation is the mechanism through which consciousness transforms infinite possibility into specific experience. If this is resonating with you, if you're feeling the truth of how consciousness creates reality, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You're not just subscribing to content. You're joining a community of conscious observers learning to create reality intentionally. The observer effect in quantum mechanics shows us that particles exist in what's called superposition, meaning they exist in all possible states simultaneously until the moment they're observed. At the moment of observation, the wave function collapses and one specific reality becomes manifest. Your life works exactly the same way. Every morning, you wake up into infinite possibility. Every moment offers you access to unlimited potential realities. But the moment you observe through the lens of same old life, You collapse all that possibility into the familiar pattern. And then you live inside that collapsed reality, wondering why nothing ever changes. This is where most people get stuck. They think the solution is to change their actions, change their circumstances, change their external world. But the observer loop doesn't operate at the level of action. It operates at the level of consciousness. It operates at the level of how you observe, which determines what you experience, which determines who you become. Let that land for a moment. You're not stuck in your circumstances. You're stuck in your observation of your circumstances, and your observation is literally creating the circumstances you keep trying to change. So how do you break the observer loop? How do you step out of the repetitive pattern of the same life wearing different clothes? You learn to observe differently. You learn to collapse the quantum field into new patterns. You learn to become a conscious observer rather than an unconscious repeater. And this is where everything shifts from theory to embodied practice. The first step is becoming aware of your default observation patterns. Most people move through their days completely unconscious of how they're observing their reality. They wake up, immediately plug into the same mental frequency, look at their life through the same perceptual lens, and wonder why nothing changes. Conscious observation begins with what I call the quantum pause. Before you observe anything, before you engage with your reflection, your environment, your day, your relationships, you pause. And in that pause, you recognize that this moment contains infinite possibility. This moment is not predetermined. This moment is not the inevitable continuation of yesterday. This moment is a quantum field of pure potential waiting for your conscious observation to collapse it into specific experience. Try this right now. Pause. Take a breath. Look around the space you're in, but instead of seeing the familiar room with the familiar objects carrying the familiar energy, see pure possibility. See quantum potential. See a field of consciousness waiting for your observation to give it form. Feel the difference? That shift in how you're observing immediately shifts what's available to be experienced. But here's where most people stop. They have a moment of expanded awareness and then immediately snap back into the familiar observation pattern. The key is learning to sustain new observation long enough for it to collapse into new experience, which then reinforces new observation, which creates new experience. This is how you reverse the observer loop. Instead of unconscious observation creating unwanted experience, creating more unconscious observation, you practice conscious observation, creating desired experience, creating more conscious observation. And the more you practice this, the more your entire reality begins to shift. Because when you change how you observe, you literally change which version of reality comes into existence. You're not trying to fix the old reality. You're accessing an entirely different quantum configuration of possibility. Let me give you a practical example of how this works. Most people observe their relationships through the lens of history. They see their partner, their family, their friends, and immediately their consciousness accesses all the accumulated patterns, all the past dynamics, all the established roles and expectations. This observation instantly collapses the quantum field into the familiar relationship dynamic. Same conversations, same reactions, same patterns playing out in slightly different ways. But what if you learned to observe your relationships through the lens of infinite possibility? What if every time you encountered another person, instead of immediately accessing the historical pattern, you paused and recognized that this moment contains unlimited potential for connection, for understanding, for love, for growth? When you observe your partner as infinite possibility rather than as the accumulated history of your relationship, something profound happens. You literally access a different version of that person. You collapse the quantum field into a new relational configuration, and they respond from that new space, which reinforces your new observation, which creates more new experience. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't pretending. This is quantum mechanics applied to consciousness. This is understanding that your observation is literally determining which version of reality you experience. The same principle applies to how you observe your career, your finances, your health, your creativity, your spiritual growth. Every area of your life exists in quantum superposition until your observation collapses it into specific experience. And if you keep observing through the same lens, you keep getting the same experience. But change your observation, and you literally access different timelines, different possibilities, different versions of your life that already exist in the quantum field, waiting for your consciousness to call them into manifestation. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds too simple. If changing my observation changes my reality, why doesn't everyone do this? Why do people stay stuck in the same patterns for years, decades, entire lifetimes? And here's the profound truth that explains everything. Most people are addicted to their observation patterns. They're energetically addicted to the familiar way of seeing, feeling, and experiencing reality, even when that reality causes suffering. Your brain is wired to seek patterns and repeat them. Your nervous system is conditioned to return to familiar states, even when those states are limiting or painful. Your identity is constructed around consistent ways of observing and responding to life. Breaking the observer loop isn't just about changing your thoughts. It's about rewiring your entire relationship to consciousness itself. This is why transformation requires more than information. It requires embodied practice. It requires training your consciousness to observe differently even when every part of your conditioning is pulling you back to the familiar pattern. And this is where the real work begins. Every moment becomes an opportunity to practice conscious observation. Every interaction becomes a chance to collapse the quantum field into new possibility. Every day becomes a laboratory for experimenting with different ways of engaging with reality. But here's what makes this practice so powerful. The quantum field responds immediately to shifts in observation. You don't have to wait months or years to see results. The moment you begin observing differently, different possibilities become available. The moment you step out of the observer loop, you access versions of your life that were always there, but invisible from your previous observation point. Take a moment right now and comment below with this phrase: I am breaking the observer loop. Not as a casual comment, but as an energetic declaration to the quantum field, as a conscious interruption in the pattern of unconscious observation, as a signal that you're choosing to step out of repetitive reality and into infinite possibility. This isn't just engagement with content. This is engagement with consciousness itself. This is you declaring to the universe that you're ready to observe your life differently, which means you're ready to experience your life differently. The more you practice conscious observation, the more you realize that the observer loop wasn't keeping you stuck. It was showing you exactly how powerful your consciousness really is. Every repeated pattern, every familiar dynamic, every same old life experience was evidence that your observation creates reality. You were just creating unconsciously. Now you're learning to create consciously. Now you're learning to use the same quantum mechanism that was keeping you stuck to generate entirely new experiences, entirely new possibilities, entirely new versions of yourself and your life. And this is where the practice deepens beyond just changing how you observe your external reality. you begin to observe your internal reality differently. You begin to witness your thoughts, emotions, sensations, and energy patterns as quantum phenomena that exist in superposition until your consciousness collapses them into specific experiences. I'm curious, as you're absorbing this understanding, what old observation pattern are you ready to release? Share in the comments below what familiar way of seeing yourself or your life you're choosing to let go of. Your sharing might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Most people experience their internal world as fixed, as just the way I am, as the inevitable result of their past conditioning. But your internal reality operates according to the same quantum principles as your external reality. Your thoughts exist in superposition until you observe them. Your emotions exist as potential until your consciousness gives them form. Your sense of identity exists as infinite possibility until your observation collapses it into specific self-experience. This means you can learn to observe your internal world as consciously as you observe your external world. Instead of automatically identifying with familiar thought patterns, familiar emotional reactions, familiar stories about who you are and what's possible for you, you can pause and recognize that this moment of internal experience contains unlimited potential. You can observe your thoughts as quantum phenomena rather than as truth. You can witness your emotions as energy in motion rather than as fixed states. You can experience your sense of self as infinite possibility rather than as historical accumulation. And when you learn to observe your internal reality this way, something extraordinary happens. You realize that the observer loop wasn't just happening between you and your external world. It was happening between you and your internal world. You were unconsciously observing your thoughts, emotions, and identity in ways that kept collapsing the quantum field into the same internal experience, which then projected into the same external experience. But now you can break the internal observer loop. Now you can become conscious of how you observe your own consciousness, and that changes everything. Because when you're free from unconscious internal observation, you're free to observe your external world from an entirely different space. When you're not trapped in repetitive thoughts about who you are and what's possible, you can observe infinite possibility in every moment. When you're not caught in familiar emotional patterns, you can respond to life from fresh presence rather than conditioned reactivity. This is what it means to step fully out of the observer loop. Not just changing how you see your circumstances, but changing how you experience consciousness itself. If this is touching something deep in you, if you're feeling the truth of how observation creates reality resonating in your body, then I invite you to subscribe not just to this channel, but to this frequency. Subscribe to the space of conscious observation. Subscribe to the practice of quantum awareness. Subscribe to the recognition that your consciousness is the creative force that determines which reality you experience. Because the more of us who understand how the observer loop works, the more we can support each other in breaking free from unconscious repetition and stepping into conscious creation. The more of us who practice observing reality as infinite possibility rather than fixed limitation, the more the collective field shifts toward expanded awareness and embodied transformation. And here's something beautiful that happens as you deepen this practice. You begin to recognize that everyone around you is also caught in their own observer loops. Everyone is unconsciously observing their reality in ways that keep generating the same experiences. But instead of judging them or trying to fix them, you begin to observe them as infinite possibility. You begin to see through their patterns to the unlimited potential that exists beneath their conditioned observation. And when you observe others this way, you give them permission to step out of their own observer loops. Your conscious observation of their infinite potential creates space for new versions of them to emerge. Your refusal to collapse them into their historical patterns invites fresh possibilities into their experience. This is how conscious observation becomes a gift not just to yourself, but to everyone whose life you touch. This is how breaking your own observer loop contributes to the healing and transformation of the collective human experience. But it all begins with you. It all begins with your willingness to recognize that the life you've been living isn't the only life available to you. It all begins with understanding that your observation has been creating your reality, which means your observation can create an entirely different reality. Every morning is a quantum moment. Every interaction is a possibility field. Every breath is an opportunity to observe your life as infinite potential rather than predetermined pattern. And the more you practice this, the more you realize that the observer loop was never your enemy. It was your teacher. It was showing you exactly how powerful your consciousness is. It was demonstrating that observation creates reality. It was proving that you are not a victim of circumstances. You are the conscious creator of experience. Now you know the secret. Now you understand how the quantum field responds to consciousness. Now you have the key to stepping out of repetitive reality and into infinite possibility. The question is, are you willing to use it? Are you willing to pause before you observe and recognize that this moment contains unlimited potential? Are you willing to collapse the quantum field into new patterns even when your conditioning is pulling you toward familiar observation? Are you willing to stay conscious even when unconsciousness feels easier? Because breaking the observer loop isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous practice. It's a moment-by-moment choice to observe your life as possibility rather than pattern. It's a commitment to consciousness that requires ongoing attention, ongoing intention, ongoing willingness to see differently. But here's what sustains this practice. Every time you observe consciously, every time you collapse the quantum field into new experience, you get immediate feedback that this works. You don't have to believe in theory. You get to experience the practical reality that different observation creates different experience. You observe your morning differently and feel different energy. You observe your work differently and access different creativity. You observe your relationships differently and experience different connection. You observe your challenges differently and discover different solutions. Each conscious observation reinforces your understanding that reality is far more fluid, far more responsive, far more creative than you ever imagined. Each moment of stepping out of the observer loop shows you that you are far more powerful, far more free, far more infinite than your conditioning taught you to believe. And gradually, what felt like practice becomes natural. What felt like effort becomes flow. What felt like breaking out of patterns becomes living in perpetual possibility. The observer loop transforms from a prison into a tool. Observation transforms from unconscious creation into conscious artistry. You become someone who moves through life knowing that every moment is a quantum field of infinite potential waiting for your consciousness to give it form. You become someone who observes reality as endlessly creative rather than repetitively limiting. You become someone who creates experience consciously rather than generating patterns unconsciously. This is your birthright. This is your natural state. This is who you are beneath all the conditioning that taught you to observe your life as fixed, limited, predetermined. You are consciousness itself. You are the observer. You are the one who collapses infinite possibility into specific experience. And when you remember this, when you embody this, When you live from this understanding, everything changes. Not because your circumstances magically transform, but because you transform. Not because the world becomes different, but because you become different. Not because reality shifts, but because your relationship to reality shifts so completely that you access versions of reality that were always available but invisible from your previous observation point. And from this new space of conscious observation, you discover that the life you thought was your life was just one possibility among infinite possibilities. The reality you thought was the way things are was just one collapsed quantum state among unlimited potential states. The identity you thought was who you are was just one way of observing consciousness among boundless ways of experiencing yourself. Breaking the observer loop reveals that you are not trapped in any pattern, any limitation, any version of reality. You are infinite consciousness with the power to observe infinite possibility and to manifest experience. But let me take you deeper into how this actually works in the fabric of reality itself. Because understanding the observer loop isn't just about personal transformation. It's about recognizing your role in the continuous creation of the universe moment by moment. Every quantum physicist will tell you that consciousness plays a fundamental role in determining physical reality. But what they don't often explain is how intimate and immediate this process really is. Your consciousness isn't separate from the quantum field, observing it from a distance. Your consciousness is the quantum field experiencing itself subjectively. Think about this. Right now, as you're listening to these words, your brain is processing approximately 11 million bits of information per second. But your conscious awareness is only processing about 40 bits per second. What's happening to the other 10,999,960 bits of information? They're existing in quantum superposition, waiting for your consciousness to select which ones become part of your experienced reality. This selection process, this filtering of infinite information into specific experience, this is the observer loop in action at the most fundamental level of your existence. And here's what's extraordinary. You're doing this completely unconsciously most of the time. You're filtering reality through conditioned patterns, habitual perspectives, and inherited beliefs without realizing that you're actively choosing which version of reality you experience. Your nervous system has been trained since birth to look for specific patterns, to filter information in predictable ways, to collapse the quantum field into familiar experiences. This isn't wrong. It's actually a survival mechanism. But what happens when that survival mechanism becomes a limitation mechanism? What happens when the patterns that once kept you safe now keep you stuck? You end up living in what I call a contracted reality tunnel. Out of infinite possibility, you experience only the narrow band of reality that your conditioned observation patterns allow through. And because you experience the same narrow band repeatedly, you assume that's all there is. You assume that's reality. But quantum mechanics reveals something revolutionary. There is no fixed reality. There are only probability waves of potential that collapse into specific experience when observed. And the way you observe, the filters you use, the patterns you look for, the expectations you carry, these determine which probabilities become your lived experience. This is why two people can live in the same house, work at the same job, interact with the same people, and have completely different experiences of reality. They're not experiencing different circumstances. They're observing the same circumstances through different consciousness filters, which creates entirely different collapsed realities. And here's where it gets even more profound. These observation filters aren't just mental. They're energetic. They're vibrational. Your entire being, your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, memories, expectations, fears, desires, creates a specific energetic signature that acts like a tuning fork in the quantum field. You literally vibrate into existence the realities that match your energetic frequency. The observer loop, then, isn't just about how you think about your life. It's about the entire energetic pattern you're broadcasting into the quantum field, moment by moment. And if that pattern stays the same, the experiences that collapse into your reality stay the same. Same vibration, same manifestation, same energetic signature, same life circumstances. But here's what changes everything. When you understand that your energetic signature is not fixed, that your vibrational frequency is not permanent, that your observation patterns can be consciously transformed, you realize you have access to entirely different probability streams. You can literally tune into different channels of reality by shifting your energetic relationship to existence itself. This requires going beyond just changing your thoughts. Thoughts are only the surface level of observation. Underneath your thoughts are your emotions. Underneath your emotions are your beliefs. Underneath your beliefs are your deep nervous system patterns. Underneath those patterns is your fundamental relationship to being alive, to being safe, to being worthy of love and abundance and joy. Breaking the observer loop means transforming your energetic signature at every level. It means healing the places where your nervous system learned to contract, to protect, to limit possibility as a way of avoiding pain. It means releasing the energetic imprints of past experiences that keep your observation patterns locked in fear-based configurations. And this is where the work becomes deeply somatic, deeply embodied. Because the observer loop isn't maintained by your mind. It's maintained by your entire nervous system, your cellular memory, your energetic field. Breaking free requires what I call quantum healing. Healing that addresses not just your thoughts and emotions, but the very fabric of how your consciousness interfaces with reality. Let me give you a practical example of how deep this goes. Many people try to manifest abundance while carrying deep nervous system patterns of scarcity. They use affirmations, visualization, positive thinking, but their body is still vibrating in survival mode. Their cells still carry the memory of not having enough, not being safe, not being worthy. And so no matter what they do mentally, their energetic signature keeps collapsing the quantum field into experiences of limitation. The observer loop, in this case, isn't just about how they think about money. It's about how their entire being relates to resource, to safety, to worthiness. And until those deeper patterns are transformed, until their nervous system learns to feel safe in abundance, until their cellular memory is cleared of scarcity imprints, they'll keep observing reality through the lens of not enough and experiencing exactly that. This is why true transformation requires more than mindset work. It requires what quantum physics calls decoherence and recoherence. You have to allow the old energetic patterns to decohere, to dissolve back into the quantum field of infinite possibility. And then you have to consciously recohere new patterns, new frequencies, new ways of being that match the reality you want to experience. And here's something beautiful about this process. When you heal at the quantum level, when you transform your deepest observation patterns, the changes ripple out through your entire reality field. People notice something different about your energy. Opportunities that were invisible before suddenly become obvious. Synchronicities multiply. Resources flow more easily. Relationships shift into greater harmony. This isn't magical thinking. This is quantum mechanics. When you change your energetic signature, you change which probability streams you have access to. When you transform your observation patterns, you literally step into parallel realities where different possibilities are available. But here's what most people don't understand about this process. It requires a death. Not a physical death, but an ego death. The identity that was maintaining the old observer loop has to dissolve for the new patterns to stabilize. You have to be willing to not know who you are for a while. You have to be willing to release your attachment to the familiar self, even when that familiar self was suffering. This is why transformation can feel so disorienting, so uncomfortable, so scary. Part of you is literally dying while a new part of you is being born. The old observation patterns are decoherent while new ones are still forming. You're in the space between identities, between realities, between versions of your life. But this liminal space, this quantum void between old and new, this is where all possibility lives. This is where you remember that you are not your patterns. You are not your history. You are not your limitations. You are pure consciousness, temporarily experiencing itself through specific forms, and those forms can change, evolve, transform completely. And when you can rest in this space of not knowing, when you can be comfortable in the quantum field before it collapses into specific experience, something extraordinary happens. You begin to observe from pure awareness, rather than from conditioned patterns. You begin to collapse the quantum field from expanded consciousness, rather than from contracted identity. This is what I call quantum presence. It's the state of being fully present to infinite possibility, without immediately collapsing it into familiar experience. It's learning to rest in the space of pure potential, to observe from wholeness rather than from woundedness, to create from love rather than from fear. And from this space of quantum presence, your entire relationship to the observer loop transforms. Instead of being trapped by unconscious observation, you become a conscious artist of reality. Instead of repeating the same collapsed patterns, you dance with infinite possibility. Instead of living in reaction to circumstances, you become the conscious creator of circumstances. But let me be clear about something. This isn't about controlling reality or forcing outcomes or manipulating the quantum field to get what you want. That approach comes from the same consciousness that created the observer loop in the first place. The consciousness that sees itself as separate from reality, trying to impose its will on an external world. True quantum presence recognizes that you are reality. You are not separate from the field you're observing. You are the field observing itself. And from this recognition, creation happens naturally, organically, effortlessly. You don't have to force reality to change. You simply have to be authentic to your deepest truth, and reality reorganizes itself around that authenticity. This is why the most powerful transformation happens when you stop trying to change your life and start being true to who you really are beneath all the conditioning. When you align with your essential nature, when you observe from your authentic self rather than from your programmed self, the quantum field responds by reflecting that authenticity back to you in the form of aligned experiences. What breakthrough in your understanding of reality have you experienced while watching this? Comment below and share how this perspective on the observer loop is shifting something in your awareness. Your insight might spark a quantum leap in someone else's consciousness. And this brings us to perhaps the most profound aspect of breaking the observer loop. It's not just about creating a better life for yourself. It's about remembering your role as a conscious participant in the evolution of reality itself. Every time you break free from an unconscious pattern, every time you observe from expanded awareness rather than contracted fear, every time you choose love over separation, you contribute to the collective transformation of human consciousness. Your individual healing becomes planetary healing. Your personal awakening becomes universal awakening. Because we're all part of the same quantum field. We're all aspects of the same fundamental consciousness experiencing itself through countless perspectives. And when one of us breaks free from the observer loop, when one of us remembers how to observe from infinite possibility rather than finite limitation, it creates ripples throughout the entire field that make it easier for others to break free as well. This is why your transformation matters not just for you, but for everyone. This is why breaking the observer loop is not just personal development, but spiritual service. This is why learning to observe consciously is one of the most important things you can do for the healing and awakening of our world. And as you embody this understanding more deeply, as you live more consistently from quantum presence, something beautiful begins to happen in your daily experience. Life becomes lighter, more playful, more creative. Instead of feeling like you're pushing against reality, you feel like you're dancing with it. Instead of experiencing scarcity and struggle, you experience abundance and flow. Instead of feeling separate and isolated, you feel connected and supported by the intelligence of existence itself. This isn't because your circumstances necessarily change dramatically, though they often do. It's because your relationship to circumstances changes completely. You stop experiencing yourself as a victim of reality and start experiencing yourself as a collaborator with reality. You stop seeing obstacles and start seeing invitations. You stop feeling stuck and start feeling infinitely creative. And from this space, the question is no longer, how do I break the observer loop? But how do I live in conscious partnership with the quantum field? How do I honor the infinite creativity that wants to express itself through my unique perspective? How do I serve the evolution of consciousness while experiencing the joy and beauty and love that are my birthright as a conscious being? These questions lead us to what I call the art of quantum living. It's a way of being where every moment becomes a canvas for conscious creation, where every interaction becomes an opportunity for mutual awakening, where every challenge becomes an invitation to observe from even greater depth and clarity. In quantum living, you don't just break the observer loop once and then return to unconscious patterns. You develop what quantum physicists call coherence, a sustained state of aligned observation where your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions all vibrate at the same frequency of conscious intention. This coherence creates what's known as a standing wave in the quantum field, a stable pattern of energy that consistently attracts experiences aligned with your highest truth. But achieving quantum coherence requires understanding something most people miss about consciousness. It's not just about what you observe, but how you observe. The quality of your attention determines the quality of your reality. Scattered attention creates scattered experience. Fragmented observation creates fragmented manifestation. But unified, coherent attention that comes from your whole being aligned with your deepest truth. This creates unified, coherent reality. Think about the difference between looking at something and truly seeing it. When you look, you're processing information through your existing filters, collapsing the quantum field into familiar patterns. But when you see, when you observe with fresh eyes, with beginner's mind, with wonder and curiosity, you allow new possibilities to emerge. You create space for the unexpected, the miraculous, the unprecedented. This quality of seeing is what transforms the observer loop from a prison into a portal. Instead of unconsciously reinforcing the same patterns, you become a conscious explorer of infinite possibility. Instead of mechanically repeating familiar observations, you approach each moment as a unique expression of the creative intelligence of the universe. And here's something profound that happens as you develop this quality of conscious seeing. You begin to recognize that every person you encounter, every situation you experience, every challenge you face is perfectly designed to help you evolve your observation patterns. Life becomes your quantum laboratory, offering you continuous opportunities to practice observing from higher states of consciousness. That difficult relationship isn't just a problem to solve. It's a mirror reflecting back the places where your observation patterns are still contracted, still defending, still operating from fear rather than love. That financial challenge isn't just an obstacle to overcome. It's an invitation to examine how you observe abundance, how you relate to your own worthiness, how you collapse the quantum field around resource and security. Every experience becomes a teacher. Every moment becomes a chance to choose conscious observation over unconscious reaction. And the more you practice this, the more you realize that breaking the observer loop isn't a destination. It's a way of traveling through life with awakened awareness, with quantum consciousness, with deep trust in the intelligence that's orchestrating everything for your highest evolution. This understanding transforms even the most challenging moments into gifts. Because when you know that your consciousness is actively creating your reality, when you understand that your observation patterns determine your experience, you also know that you have the power to transform any situation by transforming how you observe it. You're never a victim of circumstances. You're always a conscious participant in the dance of creation. And this is where quantum living becomes not just a personal practice, but a way of serving the world. Because as you embody conscious observation, as you live from quantum presence, as you demonstrate what's possible when a human being remembers their true nature as infinite consciousness, you give everyone around you permission to do the same. Take a moment to let that truth settle into your body. Feel what it's like to recognize yourself as unlimited awareness rather than limited identity. Feel what it's like to experience this moment as boundless potential rather than predetermined continuation. And from this space of expanded recognition, drop one word in the comments below that captures the energy you're choosing to embody as you